The topic today is how to design killer content for blogs and motivational speeches. And if you're looking for an easy way to create that killer content for your blog, or if you're trying to design a motivational speech for your team, in this session, I'm going to cover simple ways to create content that those audiences are just going to love. Now, the technique works equally well, by the way, whether you're delivering it verbally, like in a speech, or if you're writing it. So if you're doing a blog post, or if you're writing a book, or if you're writing a course for training or something like that, it works really, really well. The keys to good communication are similar whether you're writing or speaking. So I'll give you an example. Like back in 2000, I partnered with a speaker in Dallas he'd acquired a big contract to do leadership training with the National Trade Association. It was a big break for me because although I'd done pretty well my first couple of years as a speaker, clients were still really hard to come by. And when he and I first talked, he mentioned that he had written a public speaking book that was in the final stages of editing. And then, since my specialty at the time still is, was designing class content, I built an entire presentation class to complement this book that he was writing. So from time to time, about every month or so, I'd ask him about the book, and he'd always respond by telling me, "It's almost ready. It's almost ready." Well, 2 years went by, and it's still, when I would ask him, was still almost ready. And I finally realized that that book was never likely going to be finished. So in desperation, I decided that if I were going to have a good, well-written textbook for this class that I'd spent so much time designing, I'd have to write it myself. And so I basically learned to write out of necessity. And at that point, I'd never written anything except, term papers in school. I mean, I'd written course content, but I'd never written anything that was, like a textbook or anything like that. But I figured that whether you're communicating via the spoken word or written text, that the goal is still the same. You want to communicate important ideas in a way that your audience or your readers can retain the information, and you also want to make that communication somewhat entertaining so that your listeners or readers continue to pay attention. So out of necessity, I sat down and at my computer, and I wrote the book, Fearless Presentations. The whole process, by the way, from start to finish, took me less than 3 weeks. And the only reason it took me that long was because I type really, really slow. I'm gotten better over the years, but I mean, I never took a typing class or anything like that. And so I just hunt and peck. So it took me a while. So basically, what we're going to explain in this episode is the step-by-step process that I went through, and how you can use that same process to create unlimited content for motivational speeches, for keynote speeches, for blog posts, for articles, trade journal postings, and stuff like that.